All right, welcome back to the Brant Just Saying show. Today we're going to talk about why do people keep killing other people? Yeah, I'm blasting that at you right off the bat. Why do people keep killing other people? So this comes on the heels of we're right on the heels of the Columbus shooting. We're right on the heels this last weekend of the Allen shooting, and so we're all questioning. As a society, I think, as a state, as a bunch of people, we're questioning, why is this happening? Why are people killing other people? Right? Why has this become so commonplace in society that people will do just these heinous, horrible acts? So we ask the big question every time this happens: why do people keep killing other people? Why all these heinous acts of violence against innocents? And on one side they scream, "Oh, it's the guns! It's the guns! We got to get rid of all the guns." And the other side yells, "It's mental health! We need to reinstitute mental health institutions and lock them all up and give them lobotomies or whatever." And I'll argue that neither is correct. See, we have a problem, but it's not a guns problem and it's not a mental health problem. What we have is a consequence of our own doing. We have created the cesspool we are now drowning in, the mess we're experiencing, which is the mass shootings, the riots, the perceived injustice, political conflict, rampant corruption in every aspect of society, from the top government all the way down to the smallest business owner. It is not and should not be a surprise to any of you. To anybody watching this should not be a surprise. We should not be shocked that a man walked into a mall or walked around an outdoor mall in Allen, Texas, and started shooting people. Shouldn't be a surprise. You see, the problem lies in the fact that we've kicked God out of our families, our homes, our work, our schools. We've kicked him out of our government and our relationships with others. You see, a godless society is one ruled by self. And self is only ruled by feelings. And feelings change by nature, and feelings change by the minute, the day, the situation, the season. You see, when there is no God, there is no eternity, nor is there any eternal consequence. See, there is no ultimate authority to rule over one's feelings, desires, and emotions. When there is no God, the only rule in one's life is what makes them feel good in the moment. Ask yourself, what makes you feel good in the moment? Not what makes you feel good in the long run. Not what's going to make you feel good 10 years from now or 100 years from now. What makes you feel good in the moment? And that's what rules a godless society. You see, one side of the aisle says it's the guns and they want to take the guns away. And the problem with this is that it's not the guns. It's not guns. And it's not mental health. There are plenty of people out there that have mental health issues that have no desire to kill or murder people. The problem lies in the fact that we have no God. You see, without God, there's no ultimate authority. There's nobody to answer to, no eternal being to bring eternal consequence to immoral actions. You see, without God, there's only the here and now, and what you can get out of it for yourself in the immediate short term. And when some godless wacko decides he or she wants to exit this miserable world and take a few others with him or her when they go, it should come as no surprise, because they see the world as a temporary holding cell to a giant nothing ending. You see, with such bleak and meaningless prospects as nothing after this life, it's no wonder we have people indiscriminately killing one another without care or concern. You see, when you don't have anything to look forward to, and your existence on this planet is miserable because the godless people around you are so self-centered and miserable themselves that they want to harm you and do whatever they can to take from you and hurt you, and you feel helpless and powerless, then what is it? What is it to hold you back from just feeding whatever makes you feel good in the moment? There's nothing. Nothing stops the godless from walking into a church and murdering a bunch of people. Nothing stops the godless from walking into a school and taking the lives of innocent children. Nothing stops the godless from taking their car and driving it through a crowd of people and killing seven people just because they don't feel like being kind, because they feel like doing something different, because they feel like feeding their desires, whatever that may be. You see, we have given up concern for the lives of the innocent. And the most evident aspect of that, which is amazing to me, that we're shocked when 8 people are shot and killed in a mall, and yet 600,000 plus babies are murdered every single year in the name of convenience, in the name of choice. You see, we've become such a godless society that even the most innocent, the most vulnerable in our society, have been reduced to nothing more than a choice, nothing more than a clump of cells. They're not alive. They're not a life. When a mother can destroy her own offspring without batting an eye, why are we surprised when the inconvenience of annoying people results in murder? You see, we've reduced everything that we believe in to nothing more than feelings. We live in a society where, on one hand, they tell you that there is no God, do what makes you feel good, engage in self-love, love yourself first. And then on the other hand, when people act out with that, when they actually embrace that ideology, we're shocked. We are shocked at the result of it. What's amazing to me is that we still blame such mundane things as the gun. We blame mental health. We blame these little components of it. Here's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. The blame lies on ourselves. We have created this ourselves. We have kicked out any eternal consequence. We're getting to the point where we've become so godless that we are even willing to rail against nature. Human nature, even nature of any animal, is to reproduce, and yet we kill our own offspring. Nature tells us that a man and a woman combine to create a life, and yet we want to reject the natural order of things. You see, nature tells us that everybody has a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And yet, we want to take that ability for somebody to engage in life, to preserve their life, to preserve their liberty, and to pursue happiness. Bear in mind, it's not to be happy, it's to pursue it. But we do this at the expense of others. And why? Because we don't have a God. We've kicked God out of everything. And when you have a godless society, when you devalue the most vulnerable and the most innocent, it should come as no surprise when others who are inconvenient and not very friendly, or that aren't beneficial to you or don't make you feel good in the moment, it should come as no surprise when a fringe of our society takes it to the edge and takes it to the extreme and murders others. It should come as no surprise to the godless masses when an animal without a belief in God, who is sans A belief in eternal consequences and who is trying to get all that he or she wants in the here and now to make them feel good decides that others' lives are no more important than a clump of worthless cells. Let's be honest, we've all wanted to punch the bratty little kid in the face at the store. We've all wanted to kneecap the Karen in the parking lot or permanently delete the thief that broke into our car, our home, our business, or our property. What separates a sane from the insane, those willing to act out their desires from those who restrain their murderous impulses, is the belief in an authority bigger than themselves who has the power to determine true morality and dole out just eternal outcomes and eternal consequences. Until we can get back to a society that believes in God, until we turn around and repent of our ways and turn towards God and return to our God-centered society, nothing's going to change. There will be no improvement in our society. As a matter of fact, we've seen throughout history, we've seen time and time and time again in every historical society that's ever been recorded, that when you remove God from the society, when you allow people to rule themselves and engage in self-love over all else, we've seen the consequence of that. And the consequence has always been destruction. It's always been death. It's always been discord. And it's always been dysfunction. Because when there is no God and there is no eternity and there is no eternal consequence, then there is only self to rule. And that self-rule always fails. So until we can fix that problem, until we can return God to our schools, our homes, our government, our lives, and for that matter, even our churches, till we can do that, we're going to continue to see these problems. It's going to get worse. So I implore you, invite God in. Invite God. Seek God. Put God first. By putting God first, you'll put others first. When you put others first, suddenly humanity has value because it has an eternal consequence, an eternal value. So until next time, this is Brant, and I'm just saying.